Despite his old man in the rocking chair tactics, Ridley Scott is still one of the best living directors doing it. So I will give you my thoughts on The Last Duel to see if he has another notch in his belt in his long and classic filmography. I'll give you my thoughts right after the jump. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. Oh, Ridley. Uh, the man, between he and Martin, it's getting to a point that I wish people would just stop asking him questions about the superhero films. Um, they are doing a great disservice in splitting a person like me who loves all films, superhero art, all of that stuff. They're making a divide between those who like, oh, superhero films aren't real art, and then what I do is real art, and then it becomes pretentious, like, oh, you only like the films that are hoity-toity. Damn all that. If a movie's good, doesn't matter what type of genre it fits into. It's a good film, and Ridley has quite a few of those in his belt. I'm here to say The Last Duel is another that is in that long lineage of notches in that man's belt. I will say that the trailers did not do a good job of marketing this film, but I also don't know how you particularly market this film after seeing it. The trailers do a disservice and they make this seem like this is some sort of old school gladiator era-esque knights dueling type of thing with a story about sexual assault, and it is a lot more than that. It's a lot more nuanced than that, and a lot more character driven than I think anything that the trailers came across with. I also think that there is a huge film trope that is used here that can turn one person one way or the other about this film. This film tells a story of three folks: Jean, played by Matt Damon; Jacques, played by Adam Driver; and Marguerite, played by Jodie Comer. And tells three different stories and three different versions of those stories surrounding an inciting incident of a rape. And it retells these events through each of their lenses, through each of their eyes, from the beginning, the actual incident, and then the fallout of that incident, three different times. So depending on whether or not you have the brain power to kind of like watch some of the same scenes over and over again, it will depend on where you are. Some of you might just be bored out and checked out, like I've seen this before, or it becomes repetitious and familiar. For me, not the case. For me, it's fascinating. It's fascinating to see what is a matter of importance in each of their stories, what is put in one story but is neglected in another. That is fascinating to see, what means more to them, what words get inflection, what words are changed because they're hearing it differently or they heard it differently, or they actually said it differently. All of that stuff I find fascinating. So to see that done three different ways, that's some great filmmaking. For me, what I really love about this is there's a key scene that exists in all three of their retellings. It's a small scene, but it's a scene that sort of, I think, pivots and it kind of puts in orbit these three folks around each other. It kind of creates sort of leads to the inciting incident, and it's fascinating to see how it's done. But basically, the scene I'm talking about is there's a sequence in here where Jean offers a kiss up from Marguerite to Jacques, sort of as them coming back together to show that there's no ill will. Jean's like, hey, kiss Jacques. It's weird. I always thought like something like that, if you were to have someone kiss someone, I feel like you would kiss them on the cheek or something, but it seems like this is normal practice for them to kiss on the lips in this time. There was an earlier sequence where Jean was kissed by another man when they were getting married, so I think this is just the way that it was. But in doing so, I think this scene is done exactly the same in all three storytellings, except for camera placement, which is an interesting choice. But the shot is exactly the same. The words and the way that everybody reacts is exactly the same. It's just the camera moves ever so slightly and is in a different place to sort of give a bit of a different level or a different read each time. Via Jacques, it seems like he has found the most passionate kiss that he's ever had in his entire life, because he's a womanizer. He's been out here doing his whole thing, but in that sequence he gets that kiss and it feels like he's hungry for more. Like he leans in, he wants more of it. When we get to Marguerite's storytelling, it's very much I have to do this for my lord, and she kind of pulls back. It's like, it is what it is, but this is what my lord wanted me to do, so I'm going to do it. But there is a sort of a hint that there is a little bit more passion in that kiss than anything that she's gotten from her own lord. Because there's a whole story about like she's not being pleasured by her lord. And then there's Jean, who is definitely doing this to show Marguerite off as a show pony. He's like, hey, look at this very beautiful thing that I have that you can't have because I'm married to her. And I know you're a womanizer and you like to bed everything. But here, you can have a taste of that, but you can't have it all. And sort of puts that seed in Jacques' head to just be a nasty and terrible human being. Everybody's acting their butt off in this. Adam and Matt, kudos, they're doing great. Jodie Comer is having a freaking year. Between this and Free Guy, which I think is another one of my favorite films of the year, and a completely different performance, she is killing it on all cylinders. There's a key scene in Her Truth, which I believe we can all say is the actual truth, or what this story believes to be is the actual truth, especially the way that Ridley focuses on that word when he fades out in his story or shell prompt for part 3. She has a moment where she tells Jean that she was raped. And in that, you would think most normal or good husbands would be like consoling their wife or comforting their wife. And his first response was, oh my God, why does Jacques keep doing terrible things to me? He's made everything about himself. Everything revolves around him. It is not about her. This whole movie shows how misogynistic the world is, and like we haven't made that much of a movement from where we are now to where we were then, where everything comes about the men. In that same sequence, it ends with him saying, come over here and have sex with me because I want to be the last thing that has been in you as opposed to that guy. Still not comforting. He's like, I just want to be the one that was here last, mark my territory and get that back on my side of the fence as opposed to you last being with him. That's disgusting. There's so many misogynistic practices that happen in this film that just become sort of a slap in the face. Like, oh, we haven't moved much. Decisions being made that don't have anything to do with her. All the onus, she made a conscious decision to say that she was raped. And this is why a lot of people don't come out to say that they were raped. Even in this story, we have a woman, Jean's mother, who comes out and says, yeah, I was raped, but I kept it to myself because that was the thing to do. And she's like, well, you made a choice. And what was the consequence of that? Marguerite's like, no, I'm telling. But in telling, she has given up onus, and now that story is now no longer hers. And Jean decides to make it this thing for him, this pride and ego thing he has with Jacques back and forth. He's like, spread this word across all the towns. So now everybody knows the business. It's now becoming a duel of fates where the two of them fight, and if he loses, he dies, and then they string her up, strip her naked, whip her to death in front of everybody, and burn her at the stake for like 20 minutes. Again, not a decision she got to make, something that just sort of happens. All of these steps that occur become less and less about her, even though the inciting incident was done to her. It becomes less about what she wants to do in the moment and more about what these two men can do. And so in the final sequence, Jodie, Marguerite, is watching these two men fight for her life. It is gut-wrenching because it's a really, really well shot action sequence. You know, Ridley knows one thing. He's gonna shoot some sword play and some battles like that fantastically. But it also is taking a moment to just let it breathe and just look at Marguerite up there without any really say in what happens to her next, which is devastating. And what a fate that a lot of people have today. This is just a much more fascinating film than I think I ever thought it was going to be, and much more than the trailers made it out to be. I wish Ridley sometimes would just be quiet and let his films breathe and live, as opposed to getting up in arms when his movies don't make the money that they do. I think there are mediums now where these films can get eyes on them and can get seen, as opposed to right now, the age group that would normally see this type of film probably would not go see it in the theater just for safety reasons. All that said, I love the hell out of this movie. So on my scale of play it against them, hey, I didn't mind that. Once is enough, or give me a time zone so I never have to think about this film again. This is a play it against them. This is a film that is probably, without a doubt, going to be in my top 10 of the year. It is a really well done character study, and I think that's what this trailers did make it seem, that the characters of this is what the sort of is the groundwork and the main the meat of this film, as opposed to the action beats. And it's a fantastic character study and a look and sort of a slap in the face as to where we have put women in today's world versus where they were in the past, which is why I think the shot that sort of happens at the end is there. It doesn't quite fit in because everything is so bleak and message driven, but the shot of just Marguerite in the field with her kid by herself smiling was probably the most open, honest thing and just decision of her that she's ever had to make in this entire film. As she said, that the thing that she's loved the most and did not know she loved so much was when she had that kid in her hand, and knowing that she may not be back with that kid because of a decision the two dudes have to go fight it out for was hard harrowing. But that shot is one of those like kind of coda moments that sort of say everything's for her was okay, but it's clearly for the world. We got some work to do. Have you seen The Last Duel? What did you guys think? Go ahead and leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on Twitter at HollywoodADI. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast by the same name that's on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any other place podcasts. We're there. I will be seeing the other Ridley Scott film tomorrow, House of Gucci. I'll give you my thoughts about that one as well. But like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.